Hello and welcome. This is Magic Bricks Now, India's first property channel, and you are watching Property Hotline with me, Kavita Krishnan. Today we are answering all your tax-related questions with Suresh Surana. Suresh is the founder of RSM Astute Consulting, and he joins me in our Mumbai studio. Suresh, welcome to the show. Let's get started with our first caller for the evening. Srinivasan has dialed in from Bengaluru. Srinivasan, how can we help you?
Good evening, ma'am, sir. Thank you for the opportunity. I have a specific question. I myself am a senior citizen, and my mother-in-law, who's nearing 90 now, owns a property in Lucknow, which is a very large property. This was bought in 1967, and now she needs to sell that property. And obviously, being such a large property, we are finding it difficult to find buyers. So we want to split up the property and sell it into smaller plots. It is a property which is freehold and is located in a society, and we have the society's permission for that. But before doing that, I thought I'll ask, what would be the capital gains tax implications for such a move?
That's a very interesting question over there. They have one property which they want to split into multiple properties and sell them. Will they have to pay capital gains tax multiple times?
Right. No, so definitely there will be capital gains tax on this. But since this property has been held for more than 3 years, it will be a long-term capital gain. Also, since the property was purchased way back, what I understand in 1960s, so she can substitute the fair market value as on 1st April 1981. And also then the benefit of indexation can be taken. Thereafter, whatever is the capital gain which will remain will be a long-term capital gain. It will be subject to tax at a lower rate of 20% and not the normal tax rate of 30%. So that is one benefit. And of course, if the long-term capital gain is invested in purchasing a new residential property, under Section 54 exemption can be claimed, or under Section 54F it can be claimed. So basically those exemptions can be claimed depending on the situation. Only care should be taken that it should not amount to a complete redevelopment. It should not become like a business activity, because if it becomes a business activity, then the benefit of capital gain is not available. So if you simply make it into service plots without doing a development, then that should be fine, and that is how you can claim all the tax benefits.
But then whatever gains they get, even if they're making multiple sales over here, say they divide it into 2 or 3 plots, whatever gains they get, those gains have to be invested in one single property. Is that what you're saying?
In case she wants to claim exemption under Section 54F, then obviously it has to be invested in a single residential property. And again, to the extent it is invested, one can get the exemption. If she doesn't invest, then she will have to pay tax at the rate of 20% on the long-term capital gain after taking cost as on 1st April 1981 and doing indexation.
Right. So calculate from the base year of 1981, take that as a market value, and then index it and figure out what are the capital gains that you are entitled to pay tax on. And you can make multiple sales, but ensure that you invest it in one single residential property. Only then can you claim exemption under long-term capital gains tax. Shrikant has dialed in from Hyderabad. Shrikant, go on, tell us, how can we help you?
Yeah, good evening, madam. Like my mother has bought a property and she wants to transfer the title to me and my brother. Which is the best method she can do so that we can incur less amount? And another thing is like, if she transfers the title, after transferring the title, do we need to show in our returns, income tax returns?
How do they transfer the title so that they pay the least amount of tax possible? And do they need to show it?
Yeah. So Mr. Shrikant, in this case, your mother can gift the property to you and your brother. And this can be done by executing a deed of gift, which has to be registered with the sub-registrar, since this is, dealing with the immobile property. The rate of stamp duty varies from state to state. So in Maharashtra, for example, there is a concessional rate of 2% if there is a gift from mother to, to the sons, as against normal rate of 5%. But you need to check where the property is located, and based on that the stamp duty can be different. Thereafter, you can sell it, and the interesting thing is, when you sell it, whatever is the cost which was incurred by your mother will be deemed to be your cost, even though for you there is no cost because you are getting it as a gift. But that whatever is the cost incurred by her will be deemed to be the cost for you and your brother, and also both of you will be eligible to claim the benefit of indexation. And thereafter, if you wish to invest, in another residential property or in the bonds under 54 EC, you will be eligible, and the period of holding also will be counting the period of holding by your mother. So you don't have to hold it again for 3 years. You will be eligible for getting the benefit of the long-term capital gains and the investment exemptions, including the period for which the property was held by your mother. So that's the interesting thing in terms of cost and the period of holding both.
Right. So Shrikant, essentially what you're being told over here is, make a gift deed, and the gift deed is not taxable. And secondly, if you do intend to sell that property, say your mother has held it for 20 years, it means that, and you hold it for another 3 years, then it will be considered, it will be deemed that you have held that particular property for 23 years. And say your mother paid 10 lakh rupees to buy that property, then that 10 lakh rupees is the cost which will, on the basis of which capital gains will be calculated for you as well, even though the property has now been transferred in your name, right? So moving on, we have a question that's coming on email now. Trevor has written in and he says that he sold his house in Jabalpur for 2.5 crore rupees. Now the house was registered in Trevor's name. Now he says he's liable to pay long-term capital gains tax of approximately 1 crore as per current rules on this property sale. However, in order to save on this capital gains tax, he's planning to buy another house in Secunderabad for approximately 1 crore rupees, the same amount which is a capital gains that he's tax that he's paying. Now he's planning to buy this property jointly with his wife. Is that permissible? Also, he wants to know whether he will then be entitled to capital gains tax exemption. Is it mandatory for him to buy the new property in his name only? So can I sell property and reinvest in a jointly owned property and still gain capital gains exemption? Is that possible?
Yes, it is possible. So here, Mr. Trevor, first of all, even if the property is jointly owned, as long as you are also the owner of the property along with your spouse, but the beneficial ownership should belong to you. So in the tax returns, what they normally go by is the beneficial ownership and not the legal ownership. So even though your spouse may be the joint owner with you for legal purposes, as long as the entire investment is made by you and the entire asset, assuming if it is more than 50 lakhs, it has to be reflected in the schedule asset and liabilities now in your tax return.
So Suresh, what you're trying to say is, does this mean that Trevor has to establish a paper trail?
It would
showing
be
that the money is going from his account to the towards investment in that property?
Yes, I mean that would be definitely advisable, and otherwise it can result into litigation, that whether he intended to gift 50% to his wife, in which case the exemption may not be available. So it is important that he says, although the property is owned legally along with the wife, and but the beneficial ownership continues to belong to him entirely, and payment has been made by him, as well as entire investment is reflected in his tax return. So that is one part of it. The second part of it is that it must be a long-term capital gain for you to claim exemption. So the previous house which you have sold in Jabalpur, you must have it must have been held for at least 3 years. Only then you can get the exemption. And the final point was the extent of the investment. So as long as whatever is the capital gain, which I understand is 1 crore. I can't see how your tax can be 1 crore on a sale of 2.5 crores, because if it's a long-term asset, the tax rate is 20%. So even if your cost was very nominal, you can't have a tax liability of more than 50 lakh rupees. So assuming that that is a capital gain and not capital gains tax, what you are talking about, you need to invest the capital gain in the new house in Secunderabad. And as long as you do that, you have to invest within 2 years of the sale or 1 year before the sale. And if you are constructing, it has to be constructed within 3 years. Now, these are very important timelines which you need to follow. In case, one more point I would like to add, that in case you have not made the investment before the due date of filing the return, then you need to deposit this money in a special capital gains account, and from there you to make investment. So you can't say that it is 3 years and therefore I'll make investment subsequently. If in the meantime you have to furnish your tax return, you need to deposit in a separate special capital gains account.
Right. Very quickly, Suresh, tell us one more thing. You mentioned beneficial ownership. Now, this is a word you used repeatedly. Does Trevor have to furnish any kind of documents to claim or to show this beneficial ownership to the tax authorities?
Yeah, so the simplest thing is now any person who is having, if it is more than 50 lakh rupees, then he has to reflect in the schedule of assets and liabilities. So if he reflects the investment in his tax return and the wife does not reflect because she is not the beneficial owner, that will establish. Another thing one can do is also to have an, they can do an internal MOU in which it can be clarified that although the legal ownership is joint, the beneficial ownership will be entirely in the name of the husband.
Right. So, Trevor, here are certain things that you need to do. One is remember that it is not the capital gains tax that you have to reinvest. What you need to reinvest is the capital gains, which means the profit that you have made by selling that property. This is what you reinvest in another residential property. Secondly, yes, you can claim exemption. However, you need to, one, establish a paper trail. Second, ideally enter into an MOU with your wife saying that you are the beneficial owner of the property and that you will take the tax liability in this case. Right? Moving on, let's take Jasper Barucha's question, which is coming through email. Now, he's planning to buy a flat in Mumbai. He wants to know if he has to obtain a TAN number from the IT department in order to deposit 1% TDS. He wants to know what exactly is the procedure to pay 1% TDS and how he can procure a TDS certificate. Now, that's fairly easy, right, Suresh? You can do it online these days.
Yeah, so Mr. Barucha, first of all, it is not necessary for you to get a TAN number. There is a special provision here. Normally, any person who deducts the tax and pays the tax, he has to obtain a tax deduction account number. But for this particular, because these are one-off transactions, you can use your permanent account number to make the payment online. There is a form 26QB, which you need to submit online, in which you have to give the name and the address of the transferor and the transferee, the description of the property, the sale consideration, the amount of tax, and thereafter, once you submit online, thereafter, after 15 days, you can generate online Form 16B, which will be the certificate of tax deduction which you can give to the party on whose behalf you have deducted this tax. So this is the procedure which is fairly, everything can be done online. You don't need to obtain a tax deduction account number. One more thing is that the time for payment is now 30 days. Earlier it used to be 7 days. They've increased it to 30 days. So these are the
this
things
is 30 days from the day of registration of the sale, or
from the
30
date of
days from the
payment.
day of signing?
From the date of payment.
Okay.
Whenever you make the payment, within 30 days of that, you need to
Pay the
to make the
TDS.
payment of this 1%. And this is under section 194 IA of the Income Tax Act.
Okay, so 30 days from the date when you make that final payment for your flat is when you have to actually generate the TDS. Also, one more thing, Suresh, a lot now what I've heard is, and what I know is that in a lot of cases, that this entire e-TDS procedure is carried out from the developer's office, which means you are, you also talked about generating the TDS certificate. So then the developer generates this TDS certificate and gives you the printout. Is that how it works?
I
Or
mean,
can I do
that
it
might be
myself?
more of an administrative convenience because many people are not very comfortable operating this. I mean, for all, if you want to do yourself and if you are computer savvy, you can do yourself. But if many people are not familiar with the procedure, and whereas a developer does it day in and day out. So they simply make it convenient that you can come and log in and, so it becomes administratively more easier. But there's nothing to prevent you from doing yourself in case you want to keep control with you.
Right. So, Jasper, yes, you have to pay the TDS. And do remember, if you're doing it from the developer's office, you have to ensure that you also go back and get that TDS certificate from the developer, because that is the only proof that you have paid tax on that particular transaction. We have a question that's coming on our website now. Ashok Bhatia has written in and says he sold a property in September 2015 and reinvested the gains in another property immediately. Now, if he sells his property within 3 years and buys a third property, will he get capital gains tax exemption? Suresh, first of all, it is within 3 years, which means it qualifies as short-term capital gains?
That's right. So, in fact, there is a condition that, so first of all, I presume that the first property which has been sold was held for more than 3 years. Then only it is eligible for any sort of exemptions. Now, then the property in which you are investing, you must hold it for a period of 3 years. If you are selling it within the period of 3 years, then whatever exemption you claimed in 2015, you are claiming on the first property, will be reduced from your cost of the new property what you are buying. And then on the balance amount, you will be subject to capital gains tax. And the second house, when you sell, it will be actually short-term capital gain because you are holding it for less than 3 years. So whatever gain you make, which will include this notional gain on account of withdrawal of the exemption, will be subject to tax at the rate of 30%. So you have to be very careful because normally case you would have paid 20% tax. But by claiming the exemption and thereafter selling within 3 years, you are actually changing the character from the long-term capital gain to short-term capital gain, and thereby higher rate of tax may be attracted. So you have to be very careful about that. And of course, the third house which you are investing will not be eligible thereafter for exemption.
So Ashok, essentially two key things to remember here. If you're selling within 3 years, you will have to pay short-term capital gains tax. There is no deduction available over here, no exemption available on that, which means, and you're also paying a much higher amount as tax. One. Second thing is that it's the third property, which means you are not in any case eligible for tax exemption. So the best thing would be to hold it for a longer time, wait for the 3-year deadline to finish and then look at selling the property. That way at least you'll be paying lesser amount as tax and you won't have to pay that entire 30% of short-term capital gains tax over there. Let's take an email query next. Melville has written in and he says he bought a flat 5 years ago for 15 lakh rupees. He recently sold it for 38 lakh rupees. Now he wants to know if it is necessary to reinvest the capital gains in another property to save taxes. He also wants to know if it is advisable to keep the gains in the bank. What should he do?
So Melville, first of all, obviously it is not necessary to invest. That is your option. And assuming that you've been again holding this property for more than 3 years, if you reinvest in another residential property within the specified time, which is the 2 years within the date of sale or 3 years if you construct, or if you purchase 1 year before, then you can claim exemption of the capital gains amount. If you are simply keeping it in the bank, obviously it will not be eligible, for exemption. You can invest in bonds, which are the REC bonds or the NHAI bonds under Section 54 EC, where there is a limit of 50 lakh rupees. But the interest on those bonds is much lower and also the interest is fully taxable. So I think you really need to, see whether you want to reinvest, and in case you reinvest, then the capital gains obviously will have to reinvest. You also not considered apparently the index cost, because your cost is 15 lakhs, but maybe the index cost may be higher because it is more than 3 years. So you then need to check what is your capital gain, which will be subject to tax at the rate of 20%.
Okay, Suresh, you're getting very technical over here. What is index cost? Because he bought it at 15 lakh rupees. He sold it at 38 lakh rupees. Now, ideally for a lay person, if you talk about gains or profit, that would be 38 minus 15 lakh rupees. Now, what does index cost mean?
Yeah, so that's I think it's a very good question.
That?
It's a very good question because many people, do not really take into account this factor. Basically, the index cost means that you adjust the cost for the inflation. And particularly in a country like India, where we have been historically, although last 1 year inflation is a bit low, but historically we have been seeing inflation in the range of 6 to 8% every year. So you imagine if you bought the property, say 10 years back, for 15 lakh, for example. Today, when you do the indexation, the inflation adjusted cost, what is called index cost, may be almost double of that.
How do I get this inflation adjusted cost?
These are notified. If you just check the website, it is all year-wise.
Which website do I check?
You can check on the Income Tax Department website. And so it is every year the cost of inflation index is notified. And you can see that, like for example, right now, it's almost 1981 to now. it's almost 11 times. So if you bought something in 81 for say 10 lakh rupees, today the index cost may be almost 1.1 crore. So you can imagine the potential, so your entire capital gain calculation will change in that. And thereafter you should see
So
whether you want to
essentially
invest
what
or not.
Suresh is telling you here, Melville, is that it's something, it is very complicated. The math obviously is very complicated. It's not something that you and I can do very easily if we are not tax experts. Ideal thing to do, go consult a tax expert. And also, if you do, since you have sold the property and you've almost doubled, you have doubled your investment in fact, and more than doubled your investment, then it's ideal that you reinvest that in another property if you want to save tax. However, it is your money, and at the end of the day, you are the one who's best placed to decide what you want to do with that money. But yes, if you want to save tax, you have to reinvest it in another residential property. Very quickly, Suresh, for the benefit of Melville and all the other viewers who have tuned in, what is the time period that Melville has over here to decide and actually buy into another property? How long can he hold the money as cash in a bank?
Right. So first of all, the new property must be purchased. It could have been purchased even 1 year before the date of sale also. Or it has to be purchased within 2 years from the date of sale. And in case he is doing construction, then he has a period of 3 years from the date of sale. The only thing he has to keep in mind is that in case the tax return has to be furnished, for the capital gains, which obviously will come in between, like normally 31st July. And if by that time he has not invested and he still is waiting for the time, then he must deposit this in a special capital gains account, and from there the investment must be made.
Right, so you have to reinvest your gains in a capital gains account. You have a maximum period of 3 years within which you have to decide and reinvest those gains in a residential property. 3 years for under construction property and 2 years if you're buying ready property. That's all the time we have on today's episode of Property Hotline. Suresh Surana, thank you very much for joining us and giving us all those insights. If you have any questions related to real estate, not just taxes, whether it's about buying, selling or investing in property, legal issues or even home finance queries, you can reach us on the IDs that are flashing on your screens. You can also tweet to me. We'll get the country's top experts to answer all your questions, and that's a promise. Thank you very much for tuning in. Keep watching Magic Bricks Now.
You can watch live TV on our website mpnow.in. Find us on Facebook at facebook.com/magicbricksnow. And don't forget to click the like button. You can also follow us on Twitter at Magic Bricks Now. To stay updated with all our programming, hit the subscribe button on our YouTube channel by logging on to youtube.com/magicbricksnow.